Sylvester Stallone is getting divorced, and many of you have asked for my analysis. I've done analysis of celebrity divorces in the past, and here it is. It is no secret, if you are aware of my content, that I consider Sylvester Stallone to be one of my all-time most influential and most important mentors from afar of my entire life. Sylvester Stallone is a man who started out basically homeless, essentially homeless, and went on to become one of the most successful actors in human history, and that's a literal statement, in addition to being a director, in addition to being a screenwriter, in addition to winning Academy Awards, and in addition to amassing a wealth of somewhere around $400 million. The work ethic that Sylvester Stallone has demonstrated throughout his career is extraordinary. The attitude that he demonstrates is extraordinary. Do I agree with literally everything he has ever done? No. Do I agree with everything he's ever said? No, I don't. But on the overall, Sylvester Stallone is a massive and important, at least to me, success story and role model to follow in many respects, on top of also anti-aging. On my blogs, I showed for many years pictures of Sylvester Stallone shirtless when he was in his 60s and almost 70, and he looked younger and more ripped and better than most guys in their 30s. Even today, the guy is 76 years old, and he looks really damn good. Not as good as he used to, but still really goddamn good. And I've talked about many times how one of my anti-aging role models getting into my 60s in particular is Sylvester Stallone. The amount of success that he experienced, when you factor in the fact that he looked a little funny, the fact that he talked a little funny, the fact that he had a screwed up mouth from an accident in childbirth where he talked like this, he looked like this, and he still was able to accomplish the things he has accomplished, not just one iconic character, but two, both Rocky and Rambo. Very rarely do you see any success stories like that. Schwarzenegger is another one, but Schwarzenegger is in a different category. I love him to death too, but for various reasons, I love Sylvester Stallone even more. On top of all that, Sylvester Stallone is as close as you can get to an alpha male 2.0 when you are world famous. He has had a non-monogamous marriage to Jennifer Flavin for the past 25 years. And this is confirmed by her. She has spoken about this in many interviews, not lately. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, she did several interviews where she basically said, yes, I'm not naive. I know exactly what he does when I'm not around with other women. Of course, hey, you just got to deal with that. He's rich, he's powerful, he's good looking. That's the way it goes. Smart, realistic, and I love women who accept reality. It's very, very nice. So on top of that, he has a non-monogamous marriage like I do. Really cool, which is why he avoided the problem that Arnold Schwarzenegger had of cheating. Although maybe not. I will analyze that a little later in this video. On top of all of that, Sylvester Stallone is not only an alpha male, he is, as many other alphas will tell you, and there's a lot of quotes about this, in a room full of alpha males, particularly when he was doing things like the Expendables movies, he is the alpha male of the group of alpha males. I have seen several YouTube videos with him in social scenarios where he just takes over the whole room in a very confident and friendly and enjoyable fashion, where clearly he is the alpha in the room. Even when there are other alpha males in the room, he is extraordinary beyond belief. Is he perfect? No, he's not. Do I agree with everything? No. But he is an extraordinary example of success in life, alpha male success in life, anti-aging, work ethic, financial success across the board. I love Sylvester Stallone. I will always love Sylvester Stallone, even though he may have made a few mistakes. In terms of his marriage, he is 76 years old. His wife, Jennifer Flavin, is 54 years old. So she is 24 years younger than him. And that may have been a factor of the divorce. I will analyze that in a little bit. However, they have been married for 25 years. I think people underestimate when they hear news about divorces, what an accomplishment it is to be married to a woman, the same woman, for 25 years in the modern era. That is a huge accomplishment. On top of that, I keep saying on top of that, you have the fact that it is a Hollywood marriage. How many Hollywood marriages of mainstream A-list celebrities do you know that you have seen that have lasted 25 years or more? A few, but not very many. That, again, is another reason to be impressed by Sylvester Stallone. Is it good that he's getting divorced? No. Divorce sucks. I went through a divorce many years ago. It wasn't very fun. I'm married today and I'd rather not get divorced. But even I have said at my blogs, when I first married my wife, Pink Firefly, that if I was able to survive this marriage, to have this marriage last more than 10 years in a happy way for 10 years and then get divorced after 10 years, that would be bad, but that would be a huge accomplishment. A non-monogamous marriage, a non-monogamous, happy, low drama marriage that lasted 10 years plus before you got divorced, divorce isn't good, but that would be a huge accomplishment. He did it for 25. Pretty awesome. So I can't take that away from him, and nor should you. A 25-year-long marriage, monogamous or not, is a huge accomplishment, assuming they're both happy in the marriage, and we don't know for sure, but we can make assumptions. Now, I'm going to tell you the real reason that Jennifer Flavin divorced him. And as usual, it is a standard statistical divorce. In most divorces, 70 to 80%, depending on the statistics that you read, the woman divorces the man. And that happened here. She divorced him. By some reports, he was very surprised, and that is typical and common. The woman divorces the guy, and the guy goes, "What?" and has no idea that she was pissed off. This happens all the time, millions of times all over the Western world. This is the norm. Hopefully, he has a prenuptial agreement. I would assume that he does. I would be surprised if he didn't. So I'm operating on the assumption that he does, but I have no verification on that. Regardless, there are reasons when a woman divorces a man that are the publicly stated reasons, and then there is the real reason. I will give you the real reason in a few minutes, but first let's talk about what she said in terms of the public reasons. In general, she has said that the reason she divorced him was because he wasn't handling the money well. In divorce terminology, that is the intentional dissipation of marital assets, and is basically saying that he was blowing his money on things like gambling or loans or stupid expenses and things like that, and that's why she's divorcing him, because he wasn't handling the money correctly. Now, several problems with that. Number one, that doesn't match his behavior from the past 45, 50 years. By all accounts, except for maybe a few little moments in maybe the early to mid 80s, Sylvester Stallone has handled his money pretty well. He's done reasonably well with his investments, his business operations, retaining the money he earned from his fame. There are so many stories about famous actors from the 80s or 90s or 70s who are now destitute and poor because they blew all their money. Nicolas Cage is one. There are so many stories about famous rock stars who made a shitload of money in the 80s and now they're poor. They have to work at McDonald's. That didn't happen to Stallone. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So for Stallone to suddenly, in the last year or two, in his mid-70s, suddenly lose his mind and start spending a bunch of money like a moron just doesn't make a lot of sense. And maybe it's possible. I don't know, and you don't know. We're just speculating, but that just doesn't match his past behavior. Moreover, a woman divorcing a man because he doesn't handle the money well is a very strange reason to get divorced. All the divorces you have seen, and I'm sure you have seen many, many divorces, can you ever think of any divorce you've ever seen where the woman left the man and the reason she left him is because he didn't handle the money well? Have you ever heard of that in your life? I haven't, and I have seen hundreds upon hundreds of divorces. Never once have I ever seen a woman leave a man because he wasn't handling the money correctly. It's always other reasons, like he was beating her, he was cheating on her, he never gave her attention, he wasn't a good dad, he was an alcoholic. It was very clear and obvious reasons, not he was mishandling the money. So this reason is very, very suspicious. And I know why it's not the real reason. I'll cover that in a second. There were some other rumors going around that it was about his dog, that she divorced him because of a dog. Do you really think a woman is going to divorce a man who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars and is world famous and good looking because of a dog? You really think that was the reason? No, that's just silly and stupid. And anyone who believed that story is frankly pretty stupid. So there was not a divorce because of a dog. Now, if there are other problems in a marriage, if there's problem number one, problem number two, problem number three, and then he spends all his time with the dog as problem number 4 or 5 or 6, then yes, that can be a factor, but that's not the reason for the divorce. The reason for divorce was problem number 1, which we haven't covered yet. There is also some rumors, although some credible rumors, and I don't know if this is true or not, that Jennifer Flavin wants their 3 daughters, that would be Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett, to end up like the Kardashians and build up their own brand and become these multi-billion-dollar female business owners. And Stallone, for some reason, wasn't letting them, and now they can, now that the leash is off. That may be accurate. I don't know. We can only speculate that there might be some truth to that. There might not. But even that would not be the reason you would divorce your husband, right? Would you divorce your husband if you were happy in your marriage because you disagreed with the career paths of your grown 3 daughters? No, you wouldn't. So all these reasons are all very fishy, aren't they? Another reason that has been thrown around about their divorce is because of the age difference. Jennifer Flavin is 54, Stallone is 76. And as I've talked about, 70s is pretty old. Now, he's a very fit, very healthy, very strong 76-year-old, but he's in his 70s. And a woman who is in her 50s who still is good looking and trim and fit like Jennifer Flavin is. She is a beautiful, beautiful woman. She is not my type, but she is very attractive, particularly for a 54-year-old woman. In her 40s, there were pictures of her doing workouts and stuff and her abs with one of his autobiographies that I read. And I was super impressed that a woman in her 40s who had 3 kids could look like that. Pretty amazing. So yes, there is some weirdness when you have a large age disparity in a marriage where the man who's much older starts to get really old and the woman is still reasonably young and vibrant. Yes, that can happen, and that could be a factor. Matter of fact, I would say it probably is a factor, not the reason, but probably one of the sub-factors. Before I get to the actual reason for the divorce, I do several videos here a week on how to create location-dependent income, how to date multiple attractive women all at the same time, and how to live a long-term lifestyle of masculine long-term happiness and masculine long-term freedom. If you have any interest in these topics, you should subscribe to this channel. Click the notification bell, put a like on this video, leave a comment on this video. It doesn't really matter what you say, and that way you will get this content for free. So what is the real reason she divorced him? There was one hint in one of the articles I read. And here's actually a quote from a source. I will read the quote. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is a source, apparently someone who knows them. It wasn't really just one issue that made her file for divorce. They have had lots of issues for years, and she just had enough. Correct. Now I'm gonna give you the specific reason in terms of having enough, but that is accurate. It's not just one thing. It is a long progression of things that ended with one specific event I will cover in a second. There are 2 types of divorces. There are divorces where an event occurs. The marriage is going more or less okay and something horrible happens and one person says, oh, fuck this, I'm out. For example, everything's going well more or less in the marriage, and one day the wife finds out that the husband actually has a girlfriend on the side. Not cheating, he has a girlfriend. Oh my God, there's a nuclear explosion, and then she leaves him. Or, everything's going more or less okay, and the woman becomes out of the blue becomes a drug addict or becomes violent, or something is found out about the woman and the husband goes, oh my God, I'm out of here. So it's an event. Those actually are not typical. Most divorces are the standard divorce where it's a slow progression of things that happen over time. And one person or both people start thinking, all right, this really sucks. At some point I'm out of here. I can't do it yet for certain reasons. I'll cover those in a second. Can't do it yet, but I'm out of here. One more thing and I'm out. It's a slow progression of problems until one person, usually statistically the woman, says, okay, I just can't do this anymore. I'm out of here. Matter of fact, that is why my parents got divorced in their 70s. My parents in their late 70s got divorced after being married for 46 years or something like that, 47 years, something like that. It was a slow progression of many little problems that occurred over about an 8-year time span. And finally, my mom just couldn't do it anymore and she left. That is what happened here. Now you have to ask yourself, what was the impetus for Jennifer to actually leave? Because as I've analyzed the past, lots of women, when they are married to wealthy, powerful, good-looking, famous men, stick around in marriages for a long time because they like the money. They like the attention. They don't want to hurt the kids. Various things like that. Why do you think Melania Trump is still married to him? Melania hates Trump. She hates her husband, but she likes being married to a billionaire. She likes the attention. She doesn't want to hurt her son's feelings and disrupt her son's life. So she's going to hold out for a while until she can leave him later, assuming he doesn't die first, because he's pretty old. What eventually happens is that this progression of problems piles up and then something occurs to give the wife permission to leave the husband. And what is that? In many of these marriages, it is what I'm about to describe to you. As I said, they have 3 daughters. Okay, so he has other children, one of which has passed away. He has other children from other marriages, but together they have 3 daughters. So Jennifer Flavin has these 3 daughters. They're in their early 20s. Last year, the oldest daughter left high school and went off to college. Is that a coincidence? When the last child leaves the house, then she divorces Stallone. And that's why she left. I've seen this happen many, many, many times with people in normal divorces and celebrity divorces, including Maria Shriver. I'll cover that in a second when she left Arnold Schwarzenegger. What women do is they save up all the reasons to leave. They want to stay together for the good of the kids, so they wait until the last child moves out of the house, and then they file for divorce. As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, my first wife, who I was married to 1 billion years ago, when we were having marital trouble, that's actually what she said. She actually slipped up and verbalized this. She said, we can't get divorced yet. Our kids are little. When the kids grow up and they move out, then we can get divorced. But not now. That will hurt the kids. Yes, that is how many women view this. They stay married, not for the husband, but for the kids. And when that last kid moves out, she gets divorced. This is exactly what Maria Shriver did with Arnold Schwarzenegger, as I analyzed at my blogs many years ago when this occurred. What people think is that Maria Shriver found out that Arnold Schwarzenegger hooked up with his maid and got his maid pregnant and had a baby, and then she said, oh my God, I'm divorcing him. That is not what happened. If you read Arnold Schwarzenegger's autobiography, which I did, just like I read Stallone's autobiography, you will find out that Arnold and Maria were in marital counseling 5-6 years before any of that occurred. And she turned to him in one of the counseling sessions and said, is so-and-so your baby? And she turned to him and said, is the maid's little kid your baby? And he goes, no, of course not. So she knew. She knew years in advance before it happened, but she didn't leave. Why didn't she leave? 2 reasons. Biggest reason is she still had kids at home. She was still raising kids and didn't want to hurt the kids. Second reason, he was still the governor of California. She didn't want to leave him in the middle of being a governor. That wouldn't look good. So what did she do? She waited for 2 things to occur. She waited for him to not be governor anymore and for the last kid to move out of the house. And as soon as that happened, she filed for divorce and then turned around and said, well, it's because he cheated on me and because I just found out about this baby and the maid. And when she knew about that 5-6 years prior to that. That's exactly how this works. And that's exactly what Jennifer Flavin did. She had several different reasons to leave him. She couldn't leave him because of the kids. She waited till the kid left, and then she filed for divorce. This happens all the time. Most divorces occur within the first 7 years if you look at the statistics, the vast majority, in fact. However, the percentage that survive past 7 years, the next big spike is around 20 to 25 years. When what? When the last kid moves out of the house and then the woman takes off. This is very normal. This is why it is so stupid for men to get traditionally monogamously married and not sign a prenup, because that's what traditional means, and just assume that the wife will be around forever. No, the wife will be around until she wants to leave, and she has 10,000 reasons to do so. And even if you survive those first 7 years and you have kids, the next statistical probability beyond that is as soon as those kids leave, then she'll leave your ass. And as I've analyzed the past, if you're going to get divorced as a man, you want it to happen when you're very young, when you're in your 20s or 30s, like what happened to me. I got divorced, but I was 35. I was young. It is devastating for men when they get divorced in their 50s, 60s, 70s. My dad got divorced many years ago in his 70s. He's in his 80s now. He is still not recovered. He probably never will. I have spoken with men who were crying in their offices because they got divorced. Their wife left them because they fell out of love or whatever reason they had. And they're 59 years old and they want her back. She'll never come back. She's already found a new guy. And now they got to work another 15 years at their horrible jobs they hate because they can't afford to retire because they got to pay her alimony and communal property and child support and all that stuff. So in a way, if you're going to get divorced, it's actually worse to get divorced when the kids leave the house when you're in your 60s than when you're a young dumbass in your 20s and 30s, which is why in my first marriage, when my wife said that to me, let's just stay married for the good of the kids, and then in 20 years I'll divorce you, I knew this. I said, Jesus Christ, if I'm gonna get divorced, I'm not gonna do it when I'm an old man in my 50s. Fuck that, I'm gonna do it now. I'm going to recover now. It will be 10 times worse down the road, not better. Now, obviously, Sylvester Stallone is an alpha male. He is ridiculously famous. He is ridiculously wealthy. And as I've analyzed many times in the past, when you're super wealthy, it's really not a financial concern to get divorced. Even if he didn't sign a prenup, which I'm sure he did, but even if he didn't, okay, he's worth $400 million now. He has to give her half. He gives her $200 million. He has $200 million left. Does that really affect his lifestyle at all? No. So it's not a big deal for him, at least financially. Emotionally, I promise you, he's not feeling good about this. He is not having a good time right now. I promise you this. I don't care how alpha he is. And the biggest reason is because he's old. He's in his 70s. You don't want to get divorced in your 70s. Are you fucking kidding? No. So this is yet another reason why you do not want to get traditionally monogamously married without an enforceable, say the word, enforceable prenuptial agreement. On top of that, you certainly don't want to get married if it's monogamous. Because at least, as far as we know, she didn't leave him because of cheating, because it was a non-monogamous marriage to begin with. Now, we don't know that for sure, but I would guess that's the issue. By the way, that's another factor that a lot of women don't disclose when the divorce occurs. Bill Gates got divorced a year ago, and everyone was like, whoa, why did Bill Gates get divorced? And then a year later, what do we find out? She found out he was cheating. So that was an event divorce. That was the thing where everything was going fine. She found something else and divorced his ass. That wasn't a slow progression like it was with Jennifer Flavin. So there you go. Yet another reason why these systems do not work. If you're going to settle down with a woman, you have to do it in an OLTR marriage like I have, where you have an enforceable prenuptial paperwork. You have completely separate finances. Ideally internationalize your finances, and it's non-monogamous. So if she ever says no to sex, you can go get laid somewhere else without destroying the marriage. That is the least bad way to settle down with a woman. That is what I have. Now, do those marriages last forever? No, you can still get divorced. But the difference is the damage that occurs when you get divorced. It's much less in an OLTR marriage than it is in a traditional monogamous marriage. For those of you who are now going through a divorce or have been through a divorce, here's a video right here you should watch right now on how to deal with your ex-wife, and I'll see you in that video.